Welcome to the Inside Out Money Podcast.
Can't even recognize this place. Too many pieces of our past mistakes.
Hi, I'm Maggie, and I believe real change starts from the inside out. So let's work together to improve our money and our lives from the inside out. We will explore all things money and our relationship with it. Join me each week with a rotating set of co-hosts, friends, and interviews. Let's jump in.
It's time, we going round and round and round and round.
Hello. Today we have a special co-host, and I'm about to introduce them. But before I do, welcome to Inside Out Money. This is a personal finance podcast focused on redefining wealth from the inside out. Each week, I speak with a rotating set of co-hosts about a different financial topic to help you improve your financial mindset and tactics. So today, we have a special guest co-host. This isn't an interview, this is like a guest co-host. And it's kind of related to Greg's recent-ish announcement. It's been like a couple months that Greg announced that on our 100th episode, Greg, my husband, announced that he doesn't want to be in the regular rotation of co-host anymore because he likes it, but he was kind of doing it for me and it's not his thing. And I was like totally fine with that. I appreciated him speaking up because I knew he didn't love it, but he was just doing it to be nice to me. And so I've had some people reach out and say like, you got an open co-host rotation. Like I'd love to do it. A few people have reached out to me about it. And I was like, I wasn't really planning on like filling the gap, honestly. But one person said something to me and I was like, well, you can definitely come on. So this is Maddie. Hey, Maddie.
Hi, Maggie.
And Maddie is Greg's daughter, which means she's my stepdaughter. She is 16 years old. I have known her since she was 5 years old. You were just a tiny little thing when I met you. Do you even remember when you met me, Maddie?
I know it was at like an art museum.
It was at the Children's Museum.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah,
I got it right?
It was at the Children's Museum. And you did art, like you were in like a smock.
That's like all I remember though.
That was probably like one of the best days of your life, right?
Uh-huh.
So I've known Maddie for like 11 years, like since she was little. And I was really excited. Like when Maddie heard Kate was on the podcast, she was like, you gonna have me on the podcast? I was like, I didn't know you wanted to come on the podcast. I would love to have you. And so maybe this will be like a regular thing. You know, Maddie is an awesome 16-year-old. You've been 16 for how many months, Maddie? At least 6 months.
Yeah, I think 7.
Yeah, because you just got the like 6-month mark on your license to be able to drive with a friend. So Maddie is now a licensed driver, which we'll talk about in some of the things we're going to talk about today. But Maddie is a 10th grader in high school. Maddie, what sports do you play?
Lacrosse and cross country.
Okay. I guess you run cross country. You don't play cross country. And also, Maddie gets, I'm just going to brag about Maddie for a minute. Maddie gets straight A's. Have you gotten any B's in high school?
Not in high school, but we'll see what happens at
the
end of this year.
Well, right now you're a straight A student, you know? We don't, who knows what happens at the end of this year. I'm just saying, as of the recording of this, you are officially a straight A student. And she's like a good friend, a good big sister. Like Maddie has so many lovely qualities. And I'm excited. She's doing like a cut it off. Like that's too much. She's a great kid. I'm excited to have her on this podcast. And I threw out a few topic ideas to Maddie. And so this is one that we picked together. So we are going to talk about setting financial expectations with your kids from the earliest ages, when they really don't even know what money is, to when they're...
College!
Yeah, college. When they're like Maddie's age and starting to already... You talk about college all the time. And we've had financial conversations about college, even as a 16-year-old. And so we're going to talk about everything from like setting expectations with kids to how to talk to kids about money at different life stages and how that evolves. And we're going to get the perspective of an actual kid who is, I don't even consider you a kid anymore. Like you're like dealing with an adult most of the time, you know, with an adult with a non-fully developed IQ and EQ. Does that sound like an insult? I didn't mean it to sound like one.
No, what does EQ mean?
Emotional intelligence.
Oh.
Yeah, so you're still developing. I mean, many 40-year-olds are still developing their EQ, so don't take that as an insult. But my point is, like, it's like dealing with it. Like, when we have conversations now, I feel like I'm talking to an adult, not a kid. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about the entire life cycle of setting expectations with kids about money and teaching them about money. And We're going to share a lot of like stories from Maddie's upbringing that she remembers about money and get into some very like tactical, actionable things that you can do to talk to your kids about money. And hear just, I think it's fascinating to hear the perspective of kids around money in today's world also. And so I hope this episode is super helpful to people with kids. If you don't have kids, I would love for you to share this episode with somebody who you know who does have kids or some other, friend of yours that's a parent. And I think it might be interesting either way. You ready to jump in, Maddie?
Yep.
You ready for your very first podcast debut?
Yeah.
This isn't your first podcast debut.
Actually.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one? The one from Friends on Fire,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And you were,
Do people know that?
Yeah,
you
people
were
know
on
that people know that Friends on Fire was my first podcast.
Oh.
And we did that in Mike's closet. And we brought in the kids because we thought the acoustics were better in there. And we brought you guys in.
I think it was like 5 of us.
Yeah, it was the 3 of you. It was you and your 2 sisters. And then it was Mike and Mike's 2 kids, so it was all 5 of you. And we brought you guys in individually and like asked you some questions about money. But you were young. So anyways, let's jump in. And I'm going to ask Maddie a lot of questions throughout this episode. She's got, things she's going to share. At one point we were like prepping the notes. And what did you say to me? You were like,
what?
Like when we were prepping the notes earlier.
I have no idea.
But you said something like, can I just not look at the notes? Can we just do it?
Oh, I think I said like I would rather just do it than have like a ton of notes.
Yeah, right. So Maddie
easier.
literally has no notes in front of her. I have notes in front of me.
I just have paper and a pen.
I gave her a blank piece of paper and a pen in case she has any thoughts she doesn't want to forget. But she's just going off the cuff, so I love it, So the first thing we're going to talk about is just the importance of starting early. So I believe it is helpful to start talking to your kids about money as soon as they can talk themselves and are in any interactions that involve money, right? You could be at the grocery store with a 3-year-old and be talking to them about the different prices of things and how you pay the cash register, not the cash register, but how you pay the cashier, etc. So my point is like, ideally you're starting early, but also it's never too late. So if you've got a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old and you've never really had a lot of conversations about money, just like with an adult, it's just never too late to get started. So don't let anyone's age think that you've missed the boat on this, because I don't think you have. And I think it really is important to talk to kids about money. There are so many benefits. It helps to raise financially responsible adults. I think it reduces entitlement and fosters a sense of appreciation, which I know I talk about with you guys a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it
especially appreciation.
Yeah. I don't know if it always lands, but I think it does.
It does.
Okay, that's good. And I think it also builds essential life skills like budgeting, saving, understanding the value of things. And I just think the idea of open communication around money reduces stress over money with kids longer term because they know what's happening and they have a sense of awareness and control over things. And also, this is an ongoing thing, right? This is something that will evolve as you grow and you change what you know about money, as your kids grow and evolve, as they start to ask different questions. So we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about specific recommendations at different ages and phases with kids. But Maddie, the first thing I want to start with is, what do you remember about some of the things that we taught you about money and where we set expectations around money and finances?
Some of the things I remember are, one is trip budgets, some of the bigger trips we've went on. We've gotten a certain amount of money we've been able to spend and kind of manage it ourselves throughout the trip. And I remember on some trips it was like that too, kind of. We've only been allowed to get one thing or stuff like that, in Canada and stuff when we were little. And we've always had an allowance account where all the money we earned went into. And whenever we wanted to spend the money in there, you guys would talk to us about it and make sure it's something we really wanted to buy. Or when we did want to buy something, you would say wait and think about it for a week, and if you still want it after a week, we can go and get it. And I think just stuff like that kind of.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I'm going to come back to a lot of these examples you just talked about as we talk about things through the phases, because I have so many questions for you on a few of those, of like what you thought of them and stuff. But we'll wait as we get to these phases, like allowances in particular, because I feel like allowances like did and didn't work for us. And I'm curious for your perspective. You guys were really funny about allowances at one point. But like, not just you and your sisters. I'll tell the story. I'll tell my perspective of the allowances like later on. So just so everybody has something to look forward to in the rest of the episode. Okay. Let me ask you another question before we jump into. Are you ever stressed about money?
It kind of depends, but yeah.
Like
some
how
of the
so?
time. Just with things like spending my own money and making sure I don't spend too much on something if it's like overpriced, or if I do spend a lot on something, worrying like if I'm going to be able to make the money back and like keep my bank account kind of in the same like range, because that's kind of important. And I think just in general, like, especially, I don't want to say this part because I feel like it's bad to say.
No, say it. That's the best stuff to say. Go for it. Give it a shot.
I feel like when y'all like retired and we took like bigger trips, I like sometimes got worried that it was gonna be too much or something like that.
Oh.
Or just stuff with like that. Or I'd get worried sometimes if I'm spending too much of like your guys' money or like my mom's money.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like a problem though, but it's just kind of like worrisome sometimes.
I think it's nice that I don't want you to be stressed about that, first off. But I think it's a nice quality that you worry about that a little bit. You know, like, it's like a yes and. Like, I really don't want you to worry or be stressed about this stuff because you shouldn't. But I also think it's good that you're thinking about it enough that you're thoughtful and you're not so, like, I mean, I can't think of a better way to say it, but you're not so self-centered that you're just worried about what you want. You're actually thinking about if your needs and desires are going to negatively impact somebody else and like stretch them beyond their means. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a very good quality to have. And it reminds me of something that I am going to confess to you at the end of this episode. Okay.
Wait, what?
I'm going to give you a money confession. I don't want to do it now because it's going to get us off track.
Can you give a hint?
Nope. No hint.
At all? Is it like a subject?
I don't want to give it to you now because I want to keep you and our listeners in suspense, and I don't want to derail the conversation and get off on a sidebar. Okay. But I am going to tell you, I'm going to let you ask me some questions at the end.
All right.
And you should ask me about this money confession. Don't forget, because I'll confess something to you that I've never told you. Is it
the one that I asked earlier in the kitchen?
No, it's not that one.
It's not that one?
No, but you can ask that if you want. But no, it's it's something I've never told you about money.
Does anyone else know?
Yes, actually, people would know because I have spoken about it when I've been interviewed on other people's podcasts. But
wait, you go on other people's podcasts?
Yeah, all the time.
You've never told me that.
I don't know. You didn't ask. Yeah, all the time. I've been on like probably 30 different podcasts. Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah, all the time.
I just know you've been in like news articles.
Yeah, both. I'm kind of a big deal, Maddie.
Wow.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, no, that's interesting. I appreciate you sharing that, just about, like, where you've stressed about money.
Okay.
And part of my confession will make you feel better about that, okay? That's a hint. Okay, let's jump in to the first step of talking to little kids about money. So this I'd call, like, laying the foundation and, like, kids when they're in their early childhood. I'd say, you know, on average, age 3 to 7. And my biggest advice in talking to kids about money as a parent is just to talk openly, right? Starting in the very beginning, right? Again, you don't want to talk so openly that you're stressing your kids out to the point, you know, where you just gave an example, Maddie. Like, if you're deep in debt and things are really stressful, like, I think you should focus on that and manage it. I don't think you should tell your kids every single bit of that. But I also think if you're, like, I was talking to a friend recently that lost their job, and she didn't want to tell her teenage kid, who was 14.
Oh, I feel like you should tell them.
Yeah.
They would understand probably.
I was like, look, I agree with you, Maddie.
Did you say that?
I did. I told her. I said, look, I think you should tell her, but in a way where she has some, like, you should let her know, like, things need to be a little bit tighter so she understands. Like, I think, Maddie, if you know, it's different because we're retired, but, like, if your mom lost your job, I think you would be understanding of her saying no to more things.
I think me and Anna would.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. And so that's why I think, to me, I'm like, it shouldn't be, she should, you know, I'm not saying you, like, stress your kids out and you worry them, But you should be honest with them about your financial situation. You shouldn't give your kids things that are beyond your means, because that's not a good lesson to teach your kids. Like, you shouldn't make your kids think you're wealthier than you are. And so anyways, let's start in early childhood. And that advice to me starts at the very beginning. So some tips and things that I would think about when kids are much younger, as early as, again, like whatever age they can kind of start talking and understanding you and stuff, which I can't even remember what age that is because my kids are all 13 plus now.
I think 3 is when kids start to remember things. I heard that on TikTok the other day.
That's good. I'm glad you're learning something on TikTok,
Yeah.
Maddie. That's nice. What else do you learn on TikTok? You learn anything about money on TikTok? I didn't know. Like,
Not really.
Okay, I wasn't sure. You probably learn how to spend money on TikTok. I would think
Yeah,
TikTok shows you a lot
more
of
like
things you
that.
want. Yeah, that
Then
was
I learned about the kids' memory.
the what?
Kids' memory.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The 3-year. Okay, well
Yeah.
you know more about early childhood than I do at this point. Okay, so this is where you can start to introduce the concept of money and value and like basic choices to kids. You can teach them how to count money. Interestingly, I'd say the one thing. Well, let me ask you a question, Maddie. Do you ever remember learning in school about like money and currency and how to count it?
I have no idea. I feel like at some point we kind of had to. Because
Yeah.
I don't think you guys were the ones who taught me how to... Oh, yeah. I think we did.
In school? Yeah.
Because I feel like y'all wouldn't have taught us.
Yeah, I don't think we taught
Like,
you.
especially like cents and like all that stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like math problems.
Yeah.
on that
I mean, I think
somewhere.
I remember learning that in 2nd grade in Miss Welch's class. Same school you went to, Maddie. And because she had this thing called the Yum Yum Shop. And you
What?
could buy, she like ran a little like it wasn't a fake store. Parents would bring in like Little Debbie snacks and toys. And kids could buy stuff with fake money. And that's how she taught them.
Wait, that's fun.
Isn't that fun? She was a
Yeah.
really cool I remember, shout out to Miss Welch if she's still around. She was a really cool teacher. And I remember her because of the Yum Yum Shop. I don't remember everything about all my other teachers. Anyways, we always, like, you wouldn't know this maybe, Maddie, but in the personal finance space, we always kind of talk about and vent that, like, they don't teach kids about money in school. They teach you about, you're in, like, AP, what's APE stand for?
Oh, AP Environmental Science.
Yeah, AP Environmental Science. I'm not saying environmental science isn't important. I think it's very important. But,
It's kind of boring.
okay, well, but learning about money is arguably more important of a life skill for you. But nobody teaches you about financial stuff in, like, high school. And so what's interesting is at an early age, the one thing they do cover in schools is, like, how to count money and how to deal with, like, dollars and cents. So they might learn that in school, but either way, that's something you can reinforce at home. This early age is when you can have, like, piggy banks for your kids. Do you remember if you had a piggy bank?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had like a pottery one that I made.
Okay. Did you make it at... I feel like you made it at Wired to Fired. I feel like I remember it.
I might have. I knew I have like an actual piggy bank at some point, and then I had a fox one at another point.
Okay. So a fox bank, not a piggy?
I had both.
Okay.
But I think the pig one broke at some
Okay.
point. Yeah.
Did you break it to get into all the money?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so this is the age where you can, like, introduce a piggy bank to kids, like, give them money for starting to, earn some, like, little chores. You can kind of start to connect work to rewards. It doesn't even have to be money. It could be just connecting effort with an outcome and teaching kids, like, if they do, an extra job around the house, and we'll talk more about allowances in a minute, but if they do an extra job around the house, they earn a little bit of, some sort of screen time, or they earn a little bit of, a treat or some money.
We had those like ticket things.
Oh,
Do you remember
yeah,
that?
I do.
Like you guys got those like dumb little like carnival tickets.
Yeah,
and
dumb
we
little
had
carnival
the
tickets.
and
That's
we
what
had
I
those
call
like
them.
glass containers. And
Yeah.
whenever we like did something good or something, we
You would earn tickets.
and we could get like screen time.
There was like a
or
legend I made that was like 10
allowance
tickets
or-
earned you something.
or like some kind of like treat.
You could
I don't
catch
know.
them in for like money, a treat, or screen time.
Yeah, I think that was it.
We did that during COVID, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think that was.
I think the
COVID.
tickets are still in the drawer.
We still have the tickets. Maybe I should go back to that.
Can I like cash mine in? Because I saved a lot of mine.
I threw those jars away.
Are you serious?
Yeah. The tickets are still there though. I got the tickets. Okay. So back to piggy banks. So I love like a ticketing system. Do something that's fun and like age appropriate. The other thing is you can start to talk to your kids about simple choices. So being at the grocery store, like I'll give you a real grocery store example. And Maddie, I don't know if you remember this, but there's a bunch of things that we did with you guys, I think as early as like 7 or 8 at the grocery store. two things. One, when you guys, we'd like go to Aldi or something, and you guys would like bring me a box of cookies, and you'd be like, I want this. And I'd be like, how much does it cost? And everybody would say, I don't know. And I'd say, go back and look at the price. And
I remember this.
And I'd say,
and
come
make
tell
us
me the
run
price.
there and back.
Yeah. I'd say, come tell me the price. And then we'd go over to the section. And I was like, okay, look at this. This Aldi brand of cookie is like 99 cents. This Oreo brand is like $3.99. Which should we do, right? Like, we could get more. I mean, I'm not always saying go the cheap route, but like, we could get more of this. So what would you rather? And that's an example of like, you can talk to kids about that. Like, talk to them about it in their normal life. Like, you don't need to like sit them down and have a conversation about the grocery store. Take them to the grocery store and have a real life contextual discussion with them about money. When you're, you know, at Target buying something, like, do the same thing. Like, wherever you are, if you're buying them something for their sports team, like, talk to them about how there's 2 different brands of cleats, and you could get some used shin guards from someone in the neighborhood, or you could buy a brand new pair, and what the price difference is and what the trade-off is. And so I just don't think it's ever too young to explain to kids what you're doing and why you're making some of these financial choices. My other big tip about young kids, and this is like a tip for the kids and for the parents, is I think the biggest opportunity when kids are really young, because they don't remember this stuff and they're not like taking inventory of who got them a gift and how many gifts they got for their birthday, is I would encourage family members, like grandparents, aunts and
Grandma
uncles.
Susan, she put money in our college fund?
Yeah, college and savings. At different times we would do different ones. And so we would encourage them for your birthday, for Christmas, for anything where they were going to physically get you something. We would say, look, if you don't mind, we would really appreciate it if instead of buying them something physical, because they already have enough and they're getting a lot of other gifts, if you would put money into their college fund, which we would normally say college fund, and sometimes we would say savings.
And Mimi did like the experience stuff, and Grandpa Bill.
Yeah, and Grandpa Bill would
they
do
got the
experiences
like
for
Snow
Christmas.
Mountain and the botanical garden.
And we waited till you were older to do that. But when you were younger, like when you were 4, do you remember what Grandpa Bill got you for your birthday when you were 4?
Not at all.
Exactly. So had
all
he
I
gotten
remember
you,
is he got us a Bible for Christmas.
that was most recently. Yeah. You kids don't remember that stuff. And like, it's like when you're 4, 5, 6, even like, 0, 1, 2, not 0, but you know what I mean, 1, 2, etc. Kids don't remember that. Like, we would have already gotten you some presents for your birthday or for Christmas. And it's like, and you guys are in a blended family, so you're already getting like twice as many gifts, right? How does
Especially
that feel?
at Christmas.
You like that? You like getting?
I mean, I think it's pretty great, but... And then you get like double trips in the summer. That's my favorite part of it.
I mean, you also have all your stuff at like 2 different houses, and there's
so it's kind of like cuts it in half anyway.
Yeah.
But it's
well, I
still
was gonna
nice.
say there's some trade-offs of like there's things that are annoying about being in a blended family. I'm sure.
I was gonna say that, but I decided.
And you
not
got
to.
like an awesome stepmom out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh yeah, so that is one of my biggest tips, because kids will not remember those times, and that money is growing. And I would tell as they got like older, even we've done that. And I tell them, like, Grandma Susan pretty much never has given you, not never, but rarely has given you something physical. She always puts money into your college fund. And we tell you, we say, hey, and you don't really care because you got I assume you never seem to care because you also got a bunch of other physical presents. And like at some point, what's the difference between 6 presents or 7 presents or 15 presents or 16 presents? It's like, so whoever you're close enough to convince to forego the physical objects and give them an investment in their future that will grow for the next 5, 10, 15 years and help them go to college, I would highly encourage that. And related to that, I'd say like on the category of physical stuff and toys for little kids, like I just kind of hate them. I don't hate all of them. Like we still have a lot of y'all's Legos, and like you guys went through a whole LOL doll phase.
I remember that.
Oh, this is a cool tip that we did.
When we didn't want our toys anymore, we like made posts on like
I helped you sell them.
Neighborhood thing, and we like chose how much we wanted to sell like certain things for versus like other things, and we just kind of like
all?
Oh yeah, we did.
You like prepped them and staged them so I could take nice photos with all their like hundreds of accessories.
And after we sold them all, we got to split up the money how we thought was like fairly between me, Kate, and Anna.
Yeah. So I basically said like, hey, we got all this stuff. They didn't want it anymore. I was like, I'll help you sell it and post it if you do the work of prepping it and getting it all organized. and then you guys can keep the money because these were your, you know, your gifts. And so again, that's an example of like trying to teach them. And there's times where I would say, what do you want to sell this for? And you'd throw out an amount, and I was like, there's no way you're going to get that amount. So I'm also kind of giving them a sense of like what the used market for something looks like and what they can reasonably expect. And yeah, so we tried to like keep toys and stuff limited. And one of the ways was to encourage closer friends and family to put money into college funds or savings accounts. And like, you know, even your, like Uncle Alex and Aunt Michelle give you money for most holidays. And I think you guys like that because you also get a lot of physical stuff. Okay. Let's shift to the middle years. Okay, this is like ages kind of like 8 to 12, before teenagers. So I think at this point, and these are like ages where you can remember. I feel like you remember when you were. You definitely remember when you were 12. And your younger sisters are only 13, right? So they're only a year away from this. So we've got, you know, people pretty close to this age in our house. But this is like, you know, preteens, you know, late elementary school, middle school. This is where we started allowances, and we followed a method of, I always love this method. I don't remember where I heard it, but $1 per age per week. And so this was, so if you're 12, you get $12 a week for allowance. If you're 4, you get $4 a week for allowance.
But also we did it like, because we're not at your house every weekend, the weekends we weren't at your house, we only got 5.
We gave you a prorated amount because there were some weeks that you were at our house less, like,
yeah.
And so, but I want to hear, like, how do you think allowances went for you guys?
Not too good. And it was like a good idea, and I think we all liked the idea of it, but I think the main thing about it is I think I just forget a lot of the time. And it's like, nothing against like anyone, but it's easy. I don't know how to put this.
No, just be honest.
I'm trying to think.
This is a safe space.
Yeah, with your 5,000 followers. I think we just forget a lot of the time, like, what we were supposed to do, and like, to even do it. Because I know even now, my room is not the cleanest, and I think that was like the main part of it. But and like the things that like were messy that annoyed you guys didn't affect us.
Yeah.
So it like didn't really work as good as it could have.
Yeah, so look, everybody does allowance differently. And I love hearing your perspective on it, Maddie, because I have a similar perspective, but also a little bit different I thought allowances were like really funny how they played out eventually. Like, we definitely were inconsistent on both ends, right? Like, we, at one point, you know, I still have a weekly calendar thing Sunday night that says like family allowance meeting. We never do. We haven't done it in like years. Every now and then when you like want some money, you're like, what happened to allowance? and then you're like, I'm gonna go clean my room. But the thing is, our allowance was set to expectations, so you had to. But it was really easy. Listen, it
was easy. I would just forget about it.
It was like less than 30 minutes of work a week, maybe 20.
It was fold our laundry, clean our room.
It was just by
Wait,
Sunday.
was that it?
No, it was one other thing. Put your book bag away. Your book bag and shoes away when you come in.
That's the worst one.
I
no
know,
one
but it's
does
like
that.
the easiest one. Yes, nobody does it. Even my husband doesn't do it. So, yes, he doesn't have a book bag, but he just leaves it with everything. So, what was so... And, like, we're not going to get into, like, allowance. Some people are like, you shouldn't have to pay your kids to do this stuff. They should just do it. I've heard all sorts of perspectives on it. But we wanted to teach our kids, you know, if they did certain things that they definitely didn't want to do, which you just implied,
yeah,
that they could earn some, you know, extra money. And but also for us, this was like their spending money, right? We weren't just like buying them stuff all week. So they had to, you know, do some basic things to get that allowance. And I thought what was so funny was there became a point where none of them wanted to fold their laundry. None of them wanted to clean their room. And like you said, no one wanted to put their stuff away. And so I'd be like, well, you guys aren't going to get your allowance. And even like Kate, so Kate's my daughter, and then Anna and Maddie are my stepdaughters. Kate would go like, I don't care, I'm good. I'm good. Like, everybody just quit. It was like you just were like it's not even like you were on strike. You were just like, yeah, no, I'm good. We're fine. We don't want it. And so I would try to use it as like a threat to get people to clean, and it didn't even work.
Also, though, on the weekends we're not even there. Like, $5 is a good amount of money, but it's like, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
Like, it gets to that point where it's like... And plus, if I'm gonna leave in like 5 minutes, I think that was part of it too. Like, after school, especially when I was in middle school, we would not, like, we would be there for a solid, like, 20 minutes and then get picked up, and it's like, right when we get home, that's not really what we want to do.
But the thing is, if you had just cleaned it on Sunday when you made the $13, you didn't even not get it messed up again, you'd be fine.
No.
Yeah, no, don't tell me.
No, because recently, no, I talked about this recently, maybe a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, I don't know. I needed money, so I asked Dad about the allowance, and he was like, well, it's Sunday, so you won't get all of it.
Well, that's because you hadn't done anything all week, but my point
Exactly, that's my point.
If you, on Sunday, if you, like, earned your money on Sunday, you'd get your $13. Let's just pretend you had earned it all week.
Okay.
And on Sunday you got your $13. Then you're starting at a clean point. So how messy can your room get when you're only here for 20 minutes, like you said?
Really messy.
I know, that's what's shocking to me. It's like, if you could just get in we're not going to get into this. I told Maddie, I told you this, and I told all the kids this. I read something recently that said you shouldn't give your teenagers a hard time about their rooms being messy. You should just let them deal with it and, like, not get so stressed, and don't clean it up for them. Just let them deal with it. If they want it to be messy, it's going to be messy. And I was like, okay, this makes me very uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. And so have you noticed, I haven't asked you to clean your room in, like, weeks. Ever since I read that. Same with Kate. Yeah. I was telling Kate that.
And plus, like, I also just want to say this. My mom, growing up, didn't, like, make us clean her room either. So I think that was part of it, too.
Did she clean it for you, or did she just let it be messy?
Well, when we were really young, she would do it for us. But as we got older, I think she just kind of, like, stopped. And then I started, like, this sounds really bad, but, like, every few weeks when it got, like, super bad, I would just, like, one night just do, like, a whole cleaning of it by myself.
Yeah.
And that worked.
Are great about that. It might, like you said, it might only be every few weeks, but when you do it, you clean it and nobody asks you.
No, it looks good.
Yeah, you do it on your own. Like, you get to the point where you're annoyed by it and you, like, clean it. I can't say the same for your sisters. You seem to be the only one who has that approach. One of your sisters, I'm not going to embarrass her, she lately will clean up her room when a particular someone's coming over.
Oh.
So that's my favorite thing.
Didn't she do that
did.
Last weekend? He's
come over twice now, and both times she proactively cleans that room spotless. And
do they even go in her room?
I think he's seen it.
Oh.
They're not, like, hanging out in there, but I think she doesn't even want him to see. I mean, it's normally, like, chaos. Like, it looks like something blew up in there. And I love that has now motivated her to clean her room. And I don't have to, I'm like, cool, great. We'll just, like, invite him over a lot. So, well, okay, we'll move on from allowances now. So I think another thing I try to do a lot with the kids is really discuss needs versus wants. So the kids will say, I really need this. Kate's doing this a lot lately. I really need this. And I'm like, you want this. And the language is important. Like, I'm sure it's annoying to you guys. Is that annoying?
Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I get the impression that's annoying. But I still do it. Because I want to, like, talk openly and use, language about being intentional and everything else. And in the middle years, I think, is when you can start doing this and have it be, like, sink in and be effective. The other thing I do, and you said this in your memories of money, Maddie, is I try to, just like with adults, put some space between the impulse and the decision.
Oh, I did say that.
You did. And that works. Like, I've seen it work, because there's sometimes when you guys come back a couple days later and you're still thinking about that thing and you really want it. And then there's other times, more often, the majority, when I never forget about it. Yeah, you don't want it that bad because you forget it. You move on and it's a passing thought. And that is something that adults are not always great at. And so I think that is, like, a great example to instill. And I'm glad to hear, like, when I was asking you for memories, Maddie, it was cool to hear you say that, because I'm like, okay, well, that's, like, sticking, something's sticking. The other thing I like to do is to set limits. So Maddie, you also gave this example. So, we'll go on trips and we'll set a trip budget. Like, we went, where did we go last summer? Went to Australia. What did we give you each? $100, I think?
Maybe?
Yeah. We started increasing them as you get older,
too. You guys gave us 100, but then Mimi gave us some. Grandma Susan gave us some. That's why we had a lot
you had
at the end of it.
Even more. You had 200 something. Yeah.
I think when we went to, like, all around Europe, like that trip, I think it was just 100.
Yeah, and you guys were younger then, but we spent literally like $1,000 in ice cream on that trip. So that trip budget is just for like if they want to buy a sweatshirt.
Souvenirs.
Yeah, souvenirs. If they want a sweatshirt. And Maddie, let me give you a compliment. You are the best at delayed gratification. Of all 3 kids, you are the one that is like, you're very, at times you can be a little indecisive. I think.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. But as a result, you don't just buy the first thing you see. You really think about it. And you want to like wait till closer to the end of the trip because you might see something you want more. That's a really good quality.
I remember when I was younger, you would say that a lot with like dinner. Like you would always say that I ate the vegetables first and then I ate the dessert last. Versus Kate would eat dessert first.
Yeah. And Kate will buy that. Kate will spend that trip budget like within the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll worry about that. And you wait, so it's very good quality. So we'll do trip budgets when we go on trips. And look, your trip budget should match your own personal budget, right? So if you can't afford to give your kids $100, don't give them that. Give them $20. And if they're little, give them $5, whatever it is.
I will say too, $100 does seem like a lot, but also the trips we normally take are like at least 3 weeks long.
Yeah.
So I will say that.
Yeah. I mean, rough life. You're getting taken on these like 3 weeks.
No, I wasn't saying that. I was just saying if anyone thought that was a lot, that makes it sound a little better.
It's got to last a while, right?
Yeah.
It's like $20 or $30
I was saying that to defend y'all.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. No, I see what you mean. I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought you were like, I got to stretch that out.
Man, it's a hard life.
It's a hard
going
life.
to Australia,
Yeah,
going to Iceland this year.
Yeah,
pretty tough.
Maddie's had you've gotten some pretty cool travels, right? We prioritize, and that's a good example. We talk to the kids about how we prioritize travel over other things, and there's times when we've said like, we're not gonna we don't eat out as much because we prioritize travel. And those are the sort of things that like are important to tell your kids and talk to your kids about. Okay, the other examples of things where we'll set limits is like I'll do this with Kate with like when she wants some back to school clothes. I'll be like, cool. Okay, I'm gonna spend about $200. So you want these like 3 items from Lululemon, or do you want like 12 items from somewhere else? And I'm like, it's up to you how you want to spend that budget. And we'll even do that like we've gone to the grocery store before, and outside of like normal groceries, we'll be like, hey, or we'll be going on a trip, or we'll be doing something where like we need like treats or the movie theater or something, and we'll say, hey, you each have $10 to spend to go get whatever junk food you want for $10 each. And so I like giving kids a budget for something and kind of setting a limit and then letting them go look at the prices and make a decision and think about tax. And, it's a good exercise to do kids as soon as you feel like it's age appropriate for your kids. And that, I think, helps them develop some budgeting skills too. Another thing we'll do is, we will talk about comparison pricing, and that's a great thing to do in these middle years. And so I gave some examples on like comparing the cost of groceries at Aldi, and we also will, we have a Walgreens that's like walking distance to our house, so our kids are in Walgreens a lot. And you guys will ask for like toiletry products from Walgreens when you're in there.
And they're like 5 times more expensive because it's like Walgreens specific.
Yeah, Walgreens is so overpriced. They're not 5 times more expensive. I probably said they are, but they're like sometimes like
they have good candy though.
They do have good candy. They are sometimes like a couple dollars over I'll pull up, but we're in there. I'm like, cool, you want this like Neutrogena product, whatever it is. Even the store brand at Walgreens is more expensive than the store brand at Target.
I also bought a pretty good eyelash curler from Walgreens. So
could have gotten the same one at Target for cheaper is my point. When we are in Walgreens and somebody asks for something like a particular, face soap or whatever, I will pull up Target. And I don't always know if I'm right. Sometimes prices are a little closer, but I'll pull it up at Target and be like, I'm not going to buy this. I'm actually okay buying you this thing, but I'm not going to buy it for you here because it's $1 cheaper. I mean, there was something the other day, it was like $1.50 cheaper for a $7 or $8 product at Target than at Walgreens. And so I think that's an important thing to teach kids and talk to kids about so that they understand checking prices on things and like spending it literally took me 2 seconds to see if it was cheaper somewhere else. And then you start to learn like, hey, Aldi's almost always cheaper than Publix and really good quality. And Target's almost always cheaper than Walgreens for the exact same product. And so again, comparison shopping and checking prices on things is something that is very appropriate and good to start doing in those like middle-aged 8 to 12 years. And also giving kids opportunities to earn money. So in addition to allowance, we often give you guys opportunities to earn extra money if you want.
Oh, like cleaning and stuff.
Yeah, I'll say like, what do you get? What do you get for cleaning a bathroom?
10?
Well, you
5.
Wishful. I was gonna say wishful thinking.
5.
You probably tried to negotiate 10.
Oh, I definitely have.
Negotiation wasn't even on my
Works.
list. But what do you say? Works.
Works.
It does work. I love when people negotiate with me. I mean, there's times when you negotiate with me where it's like, nah,
I do it a lot.
Yeah, and I'll be like, that's unreasonable. And then there's other times where I'm like, no, yeah, good for you. Way to negotiate. And so you can't hurt to politely and respectfully try, you know? And, so there's times where I'll give people a job, or I'll say to Maddie, like, do you want to earn some extra money? Your favorite answer is like, how much?
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, you want to clean a bathroom for some money? How much? How long is it going to take me? And I like it. You have a sense of time value of money. It's good quality. Okay, so I like to give the kids opportunities to earn additional money from all sorts of random chores. Like sometimes we'll do, one of my favorite activities lately is, it's not even a specific activity. I'm trying to like put things away around the house and just clean up. And the jobs of y'all is to just follow me around and I hand you things. And I'm like, take this and put this in Greg's closet. Take this and put this in your room.
Oh, we did this like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I love it because it makes us like speed clean the house. And like, I don't know what I need you to do. Like, I'm like, you're like trying to ask me how much you're going to get paid and what the job is. And I'm like, I'm not sure, but just help me for 20 minutes and I'm going to make it worth your while. And I think that's, I heard somebody lately when I like posted something about chores or something on Instagram. And they were like, I don't pay my kids to do things around the house. They should just do that because they're like a helpful citizen and they're part of our household. And for a minute I was like, I like felt bad that I was like raising you guys wrong.
No.
No?
No. Because also,
so?
my thing is, if you didn't like do that, we wouldn't do it. Because I know us. And I think too, because we were raised, like, in 2 different households, it's like, even if you guys do certain things, it will only have half the impact, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know how to word that in, like, a good way.
I know what you mean. I thought you were going to say it's hard to have different expectations, different houses,
Oh,
but
that's kind of what I meant, too.
Oh, really? One thing I once heard was that, like, for kids in blended families that are, like, at 2 different houses like you are, that it is like totally fine and appropriate to have different expectations at different houses and the kids can adjust to that really well.
I don't think so.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because
you think if we were like really, really strict about something that your mom wasn't, that would be like really hard?
I think it kind of would be.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because if you set like certain expectations, I think it would be a lot harder if we were at your house for a week and then we were at our mom's house for a week.
Oh, like a week on, a week
yes,
off.
Yes, a week
schedule.
on. Because then you'd be like set to these expectations for like a straight time period and then swap to something completely different. Like it's basically having like, this is a bad example, but having like freedom one week, not the next.
Yeah.
And not saying y'all do that, but...
You guys bounce back and forth so free. I mean, you're like almost at every... Like,
no,
you're here almost every day.
Yeah, like every day. And then my mom's like every day. So it's less hard for us, I feel like. But for some kids, I feel like it would be hard.
Yeah. Well, that made me feel like bad for a minute when that other person said that. And then I was like, no, I don't feel bad. Every family's different. And like, I really do feel like when I was a kid, my parents paid me for many chores. I have like visceral memories about like getting paid like $1 a load of laundry. So I'd make them real small. I got paid like per leaf bag. I'd also like not fill them as much, but I was trying to, maximize my profits, but still do a good job. But I just remember like getting paid for chores and it really teaching me like a value of money and just that like work, it connected like work and rewards, which I think is important. I mean, I do also think kids should volunteer and give back and do things where not all effort is rewarded financially, obviously. Like your, school effort is not rewarded financially.
And then I volunteer for school a lot.
Yeah, you volunteer.
Clubs and stuff.
Yeah, you're in clubs where you volunteer. And so you get that in other aspects of life.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, the other thing we started in these years is we opened savings accounts for the kids and we told them, we showed them the amounts and we talked to them about interest and we like explained how all that worked. And then we also started like, remember those stockpile accounts?
Yeah.
I hate stockpile.
I remember those. I remember those and how you guys put like 100 in there and you guys were like, buy whatever stocks you want, but do like a wise decision about it. And I remember that year at school, we also did something with like stocks, and it was like this like simulation thing where you bought whatever stocks you wanted, and by like a few months later, we checked to see who had the most money. I didn't, but
What class was that in?
this was middle school.
Yeah, like,
I think
what
6th
subject?
grade.
What subject?
Social studies.
Oh, that's interesting. I was just curious.
Wait.
Math, maybe?
It was not math.
Oh, interesting.
It was. I remember the teacher's name was Mr. Jones. I think it was social. I think it was
Mr.
social.
Jones was
yeah,
social
Mr.
studies.
Jones.
Because he also played Among Us with y'all.
Yeah, I remember that on Zoom
I
call.
was there as a cool teacher that he did that during COVID with the kids.
Also, it could have been during like a free period, like ELT.
Oh, your ELT, yeah. Well, that's cool that they did that in school. Yeah, so we tried to like use this kid-friendly stock account, and then they started charging and didn't communicate. It was just like a bunch of things. They started like pulling money out of the kids' accounts for this fee. Anyways, I got really mad at them. It was poor communication. It was a bad product. And we just moved it over to... We opened custodial accounts in Fidelity for all the kids, which is called like UGMA or UTMA, which stands for like Uniform Transfers to Minors Act. It automatically transfers to them at a certain age, depending upon the state you're in. And it's pretty cool. So we have not talked to you guys as much about it, but we have opened stock accounts for you there and started to put some money there. Like there's been things where you've earned money and I've said like, do you want to put it in your savings account or your stock account?
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I maybe don't clarify that enough.
No.
I know I've done that with Kate more recently on some stuff.
Probably have.
Maybe I haven't even like done that. Maybe I've just in my head.
I didn't even know about this till today.
Really?
Yeah.
I've definitely told you before.
I don't know.
I'm just saying I've told you. It
Okay.
might not have landed. You may not remember it because you like weren't listening to me, but I definitely have told y'all about it before.
You might have.
I don't know. Also, I could be wrong. Who knows? Either way, surprise, you've got an investment account. That wasn't my money confession for you.
Oh.
I have a different one.
I forgot you said that.
Oh, see? Now you remember. But we're not there yet. Almost. So then, let's shift into the teenage years. This is like 13 up until college. So to me, you're continuing all the things that we've just talked about. You might start to introduce access to credit cards or debit cards here. And they have all sorts of like, there's like the green light card and there's these other cards that are like marketed towards kids.
I know a lot of people with green light cards.
Yeah, with green light. Do they like it?
Yes, but I know one of my friends, her mom has to like transfer the money onto it, which can be kind of frustrating sometimes if your mom doesn't respond.
Yeah.
But I think they work pretty well.
I've heard of a number of stories where those green light cards are kind of wonky for like that reason, and they don't work in certain types. There's something else where like they don't work for certain things.
Oh yeah, they don't work sometimes at the mall.
Yeah,
like in some stores.
Yeah, it's kind of wonky on like. So we just gave you a credit card. I have the best credit card story. Can you tell the story? Like, do you know what it is? Can you predict what I'm gonna tell?
Is it the one time I lost my credit card?
No, it's not a big deal with those credit cards. They're easy to turn off. I mean, you should probably keep up with it, but
oh. Wait.
You'll remember this, but you just might not be thinking of it.
Can you give me a hint?
You owed a lot? So Greg gave you a credit card to use.
I remember this.
Yeah, and I'm not putting this on you.
Okay, wait.
This is as much on
Can I
Greg
say
as
this?
it was you. Yeah, you go. You tell it from your perspective.
Okay, so one day I get home from school, I think, and I walk into the living room, and this is before my mom came to pick me up, because I think this was before I had, like, a car and stuff and could drive myself back to my mom's house. But they're like, we need to talk to you, come sit down. And I was really scared. No. Oh, wait, no.
It wasn't even me, it was Greg.
No, it was before. No, you guys told me you had to talk to me about my credit card before, or, like, about how much money I was spending. I think this is it.
I think Greg had told you a couple times, like, I need to catch up with you about how much.
And he didn't do this for, like, a solid, like, let's say half a year?
At least 6 months, yeah.
Maybe even a whole year.
It might have been longer, yeah.
But I sat down and they just kept listing off all of these things that I had bought, and it was the longest list ever.
And it was like $600 or something.
I know it was a lot, and I will say some of that too, my mom said she would pay me back for it.
Yeah, some of it was stuff that us or your mom were supposed to pay for, but you needed a credit card, so you put it on the card, and you had approval from us that we'd pay for it.
But it was just so much stuff, and I was just, like, shocked, because I didn't realize I'd been spending that much in the past 6 months.
Well, here's the deal from my perspective. That was all accurate. But what I thought was interesting about that is, you know, you got this credit card and it was given to you for, like, we use Apple Wallet with all the kids and we absolutely love it. And we transfer cash to them on Apple.
Oh yeah, that's
Apple
my
Pay.
main source of payment.
But there are certain places, like I think Six Flags or like there's different places.
There's a lot of places that don't take it.
Yeah, they don't take it, so you have to have a credit card. So we, you know, you were getting to the point where you were out enough that we like got you a credit card like tied to one of our accounts.
I don't even know where my credit card is right now.
Yeah, well, that's concerning. Separate issue, but we should find it.
Okay. I think Dad might have it.
Hopefully. So first lesson is like, you know, give them a card once they're able to keep up with the card. But so Maddie had a card and the understanding was whatever you put on this card, either it's something where we've approved it or it's your money. It's going to come out of your savings account. But the problem is Greg. I love Greg and he is awesome. I love him so much. Maddie knows this. But he's like, you know, he's forgetful. He's not like on top of things the way I might be. And Greg was in charge of this, you know, and so Greg, like, even multiple times, I'm like, you really need to catch up with Maddie about what she owes on there. Because he had commented about how much you owed. And I was like, yeah, well, tell her because she doesn't know. And then he would, like, it would go another couple months. So finally, I was, like, on him about it. I was like, you got to talk to Maddie about it. And so that was, like, on him. He should have every month been reviewing that. Every time he paid his credit card bill, which he does every month, he should have reviewed it with you and showed you. But he was behind on, like, expense tracking. And so anyways, he sits you down and shows you this big bill and you're like, oh my God. And then he like takes the amount out of your savings account.
It was scary.
It was a lot. And then, you know, and then he did, you know, we all committed that like we would never let it go this long again before we reviewed these expenses. So it was a good learning lesson on both sides, right? But my point with credit cards is like, I think this is a good time to introduce credit cards, but you also have to introduce the review of what's being spent and like, you know, you can't like it was
definitely should.
Yeah, it was on both you and Greg. Like you were just sort of spending fake money. Greg should have been on you to like make sure that he was holding you accountable to reviewing that on a timely basis. So
it's okay though.
Yeah, it's fine. It was a good lesson learned, I think. And so anyways, I thought it was a fun credit card story as a lesson for others to learn. So this is also a time when you can introduce part-time jobs. So Maddie...
Oh, I babysit some of the time, and for a couple years, I don't think I'm going to do it this summer, because I'm out of town like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I worked at the pool for a bit, but it was also like extremely boring.
Yeah. I honestly think you can make more money babysitting if that's what you lean into.
Definitely make more babysitting.
And it's like air-conditioned also.
Yeah, and I like the kids. I don't really like random people out there.
You're good at babysitting also. You get good feedback. So yeah, you can, I think as a parent, you should, like I helped Maddie get connected with some different babysitting clients. I put posts on our neighborhood Facebook group about her. So you can like help your kid get connected to some jobs, teach them, guide them. I've given you some advice when you were early on. You don't need it now, but early on, I remember giving you some advice. And then let them go do their thing. Let them learn some lessons. Let them get feedback. I think this is the part where you also can start explaining more advanced concepts to your kids, like how credit cards work, how debt works, how mortgages work, how the stock market works, related to, you know, some of the things we just talked about. Like actually explain that stuff to your kids. And then there's 2 big financial topics that come up in the teenage years. You know what they are, Maddie? They both start with a C.
College? Career?
College? Not career. Well,
Hold on, let me guess.
That's one where you'll earn money. Come closer to the mic.
Oh.
College. What comes?
Car.
Car. Exactly. So let's talk about cars and car insurance. First off, they're expensive.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah. We talk a lot about it, right?
Yeah, we do.
You're very aware that those are both expensive, right?
Yeah.
And that they're a privilege.
Yes.
And that there's something earned.
Yes.
And that they can be taken away from you at any moment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not tonight, though, because you gotta drive home, So my belief on both of these is, like, kids should have some skin in the game. Like, when I was a kid, I had way more skin in the game than you have, Maddie. You know what skin in the game means?
What does that even mean?
That means, like, you should have to pay for part of it, right?
Oh.
But here's the deal. You get good grades, you do a lot of sports, you're very busy, so you are not having to kick in for that stuff. And you have an electric car, which is cool, so you don't have to pay for gas anyways. You just plug up, and it's pretty cheap. And so Maddie's mom, who's not me, I'm her stepmom as a reminder, and her dad, my husband Greg, split a car for her and bought her a car. Very nice. Like, we bought a used Chevy Bolt.
It's a nice car.
It's a super nice car.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. Some things happen to it, but it's a nice car. And Greg actually did a fantastic job, like, researching that car and finding it and got, like, a used car credit. And so, like, got a really nice, newer car with lower mileage than we even expected to be able to get. And
Plus, tinted windows.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even know it had.
Bonus.
We had already paid for that car and driven, like, 4 hours to go pick it up. Then we saw it had tinted windows. And we were like, well. It was used, though, so we didn't have a choice. But Maddie likes that. And what happened twice within the first few months of you driving?
Do I have to say it?
You have to, yeah.
Well, it sounds so awful, though.
That's okay.
I hit 2 cars.
Yeah.
But I will also say...
Just to clarify, in
the
case you didn't
cops
catch
never
that,
got...
she said she hit 2 cars.
But also,
Two
I
different
will
accidents.
say... Yeah, it was 2 different things. And they were, like, a solid, like, 6 months apart. And I will say...
6 months apart.
And I will say, I did hit a mailbox before.
You
like,
hit a
when I
mailbox,
had
like,
my permit.
in my old car, like, the first time yeah.
So I will say it was, like, kind of, like... I don't want to say, like, expected, but... I feel like it can't be too, like... But, my point was, I was gonna say, both of them weren't, like, super bad damage.
You got lucky
And
that...
I will say the cops never got involved with either one of them, so it's
Which means it wasn't filed to the insurance
Yes.
companies, which you got, Maddie. I've told Maddie this 100 times, so I'm not going to belabor it, but for the listeners, Maddie got so lucky that they weren't reported to insurance because that would have been incredibly expensive. Car insurance for kids is already very expensive. If you have a kid and they're nearing 16, you should really call your insurance agent or company and get a quote so that you are mentally and financially prepared for what car insurance costs. It could easily cost you, in some areas, $400 to $500 a month, depending on the situation. Some places could be as cheap as $100 a month, but it can get really expensive. And then if you get in a wreck at a young age, it gets even more expensive. But Maddie knows. So we've talked about this. The first one, there was no damage that was going to get fixed. The second one, there was some damage that had to get fixed.
Yeah.
And Greg did a really good job. What was the quote from the dealership we got?
What?
Remember when Greg took it to if he had gotten it fixed at the dealer?
Oh,
if he got everything fixed.
Because the door, it wouldn't, like... The driver's side of the door wouldn't open. And I think fixing the door would have been a solid $1,000-something, because just the door part itself, because they were saying if you had to fix the door, they had to buy a whole new door from like the brand or whatever. But he went to this other place that was just able to like pull out the dent so the door opened
and then fix the mirror, which you have to legally have.
No, yeah. That was the expensive part of it, the mirror.
I think the quote that Greg got from the dealership to fix everything, which was a lot of what happened was aesthetic, which you got really lucky about too, which means it didn't impact the car driving. It was just like you have a bit of a scratch down the side of your car, which will be there forever until you want to fix it, Maddie. But it was like $6,000. It was ridiculous. It was a lot.
16,000?
6,000. 6,000 is $6,000. So we're gonna go back to learning currency, Maddie. Just kidding. No, it was like $6,000 if it had gotten fixed like to the dealer's standards, back to its like original amazingness that it was when you received that car. Then Greg found a guy that was like just gonna fix the side mirror and just like fix that issue with the door, and it was like $600 and something, and we made you pay for it. Yeah. And that was the point I wanted to get to, is like we were like, look, you got to, whether it was gonna be $6,000 or $600, I was like, you're paying for it.
Yeah.
And we also told you, if you get in another wreck...
I can't drive anymore.
Well, I told you something different.
Oh, that's what my mom told me.
Oh, well,
what did you tell me?
I told you if you get in another wreck, you're going to have to pay your own car insurance.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Oh, that feels like a better solution than not driving anymore. But I'm not sure if you can afford your own car insurance.
Can't.
So they might all be the same thing, you know?
Yeah, at that point, I just won't drive.
Yeah.
And that's kind of zero loss, because then you have to drive me more, so...
Yeah, true.
So, I think it would... Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. How did it feel to have to pay that $600?
It sucked.
But did you, like, learn something from it? Like, does it make you take this whole thing more... Not that you didn't take it seriously, but, like, does it make you... Did you learn something?
Yeah, I think I didn't realize, like, how bad the damage was, and I didn't expect it to cost so much. Especially with the side mirror from your old car. When y'all told me the cost of that, I was, like, super shocked, because I thought maybe, like, $50 or to repair it. No, it was, like, $300.
Yeah.
I got out of paying that.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
you had your learner's permit. It was like your second time driving when you hit that mailbox. And so, you know, that one I put on Greg.
And
who
we
was
all just
teaching
forgot.
me. Yeah.
But,
I think you actually were supposed to pay for that.
No,
and
I
then
was, and then y'all kept forgetting about it, and I never brought it up.
Yeah,
I never brought it up.
I didn't forget about it. I just was nice about it.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah,
I thought you guys just forgot.
You think I forget about financial stuff? I'm gonna keep that. On your wedding day, I'm gonna be like, you still owe me $300 from that Subaru side mirror.
Hopefully at that point I can afford it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'll come back for it one of these days. When I'm old. When I'm like Grandma Susan, I need you to clean my house or something.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna be like, remember that time? Okay. Let's move on from cars, Maddie.
Okay.
Let's talk about college.
Like out of state and in state?
I like that that's where you start. Yeah. Yeah, so like, what have we already talked to you about with like college and how do you feel about it?
Y'all have talked to me a lot about tuition and how it would save a lot of money to stay like in state and getting like good grades for like the Hope Scholarship.
The Hope Scholarship is a particular scholarship in Georgia that if you have good enough grades, pays for like all of your college tuition if you stay in state.
Like getting that scholarship and just getting other ones that kind of go along with it versus out of state will cost you more in the long run and stuff like that. My opinion is I would want to go out of state because I feel like that would be fun, but it doesn't really. It depends if it would be worth going in debt for.
Yeah. And that's a decision that you'll have to make, you know, that we'll make together, but like, you don't have all the information you need to make that decision yet. But when you know, take the SATs and the ACT or whatever you end up taking, and apply for college, you'll start to see how much funding you're getting and what you're getting in scholarships and other things. And then you can make an informed decision. But I have very firm views about college. And it's the same idea of like, I think kids should have some skin in the game, right? And I think like, I'll give examples, right? If I remember one time one of our kids, not you, Maddie, but remember when Anna said she wanted to go to the University of Hawaii?
Yes, I remember that.
And I was like, cool, if you want to go there because like the University of Hawaii has like some amazing marine biology program and that's the only school in the country that has it, and you've been prepping your whole life to become a marine biologist and like that's what you're, you know, whatever, that's your thing, I'd consider helping and figuring out how we make that a reality. But if you want to go to the University of Hawaii because it's in Hawaii and that sounds fun,
pretty.
Yeah, then like I'm not gonna bankroll that because it's just not realistic. And so again, if you want to go to like Embry, I always think of like Embry-Riddle. It's like a college that's specifically for like aeronautics and aerospace stuff. And like there's only a few schools like that, you know, in the nation. If you want to go to something, you know, a real specialty program and you've worked your butt off to get into it and it's hard to get into and all this stuff, like we would consider helping more for something that's out of state. But what's tricky, and we always give the example of like, we live in Atlanta, Georgia. There's a lot of kids that end up going to Auburn, which is like only an hour and a half away. And then you got like UGA, which is an hour away, right? They're both away, right? They're not in this city. And why would you pay like, you'd pay another extra $100,000 over 4 years, probably more, for the out-of-state tuition at Auburn versus a completely free education at UGA, which is actually a better school. Mm-hmm. And so that's our thing is like, I always say to the kids, and I've said this to Maddie, like if you stay in state, you won't have any student debt, right? Like we will take care of everything. If you go out of state, you're likely going to have some loans. You may not, you might get enough in between what we'll give you and what, you know, what you get in scholarships and other things. You might be fine, but it might be way more financially advantageous to stay in state. I mean, I know people who have gone as far to say like they've saved a bunch of money for college, and if their kids end up with a scholarship or staying in state, they'll just give them a bunch of extra money to like buy a house for their first down payment or something. Like they'll give them the money they would have spent at an out-of-state school. And so there's all sorts of expectations that you can set with your kids. But my biggest thing is you should talk to your kids about it, right? Like you should be honest about the cost difference. Again, not to stress them out, but like regardless of whether you're going to fully bankroll it or it's going to be something that you pay together, I think there's a fine line between like guilt tripping and stressing a kid out and educating them about the reality of something. So I am a big proponent of talking openly with your kids, especially as they get older, about money and educating them. Like kids need to understand scholarships, student loans. Like kids need to understand how much they're actually going to make in a career.
I agree with what you're saying, especially about, like, setting the expectation, because if your kid, like, gets to a certain age and they just have the expectation that you're just gonna, like, finance the rest of their life, then it's like they won't know, like, how much is too much.
Yeah, and they might not be as motivated to work hard, honestly. I don't know. I mean, there could be a sense of entitlement. Like, you talk a lot about, like, college and what you need to do to get into college, and I think that's good. I think it's something, I mean, I don't think it's something you should be overly stressed about, but I do think it's something you should be thinking about. I also think kids need to understand and have honest discussions if they're thinking about certain careers, about the reality of what they might make in that career versus what their loans might be. So, again, I would never dissuade one of you guys from, like, doing a lower paying career. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, go for it. What I would dissuade you from is, like, to use that example of the University of Hawaii, if you tell me you want to go to the University of Hawaii because you really want to be a teacher, I'd be like, cool.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous decision that you are going to end up bankrolling if you want to do, right? Because you're going to end up in a bunch of debt to do a job that just historically doesn't pay super well. So why wouldn't you go to a free in-state school where you can get a fantastic education and then go become a teacher debt-free your first year? The first year you make money, you've got probably extra money because, look, if I have extra money in your college fund, Maddie, I'm going to give it to you to put a down payment on your house, you know?
Good to know.
Yeah, good to know. And so I think you need to talk to kids about this stuff. Like, teach them how to research and apply for scholarships and grants. Like, work on it together. Teach them how there's all this extra money that's out there that if you put time and energy into, you can get for college. Help them understand student loans. Help them understand the difference between what they might make and what they might end up owing after college. Teach them how to budget for college life, right? Tuitions, fees, room and board, living expenses, like what all that stuff costs. I haven't gotten into that kind of stuff with you guys yet, but eventually when you go off to college, we're going to be like, look, this is your budget for living every month, and I'm going to help teach you how to budget and how to manage that. And if you go over it, it's on you, right? And so, I mean, there's stuff that, you know, we'll get to even when you're older. That is some of the stuff that I think about related to college. And then the last thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I was curious for, like, your thoughts on this, Maddie, is we've mentioned a number of times we're a blended family. And so Greg and I both, when we were in our early 30s, got divorced. We were married to different people. We had kids. We got divorced, and then we met a couple years later, and we got, you know, dated, got married, all that. And so we're a blended family. Greg pays child support to your mom, Maddie, and I receive child support from my ex-husband. And we've talked to the kids a bit about child support, right? Like, we don't tell them the specific amounts, but we have had some open discussions where we've said, you know, like, hey, Greg pays your mom a lot of money, and, like, that should cover your clothes and stuff. And, like, so that's why we still buy you stuff sometimes, but, like, we don't.
Versus you buy Kate, like, more than my dad would buy me and Anna, because my mom is, like, getting money to buy us the stuff, which she does. Yeah. She does buy us a good amount, I will say.
She buys you very nice stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's like, I'm looking at what you're wearing, like, that Nike sweatshirt you're wearing, it was a Christmas present.
Christmas.
Yeah,
my shorts are my mom's.
Shorts you're wearing.
Socks probably my mom.
Yeah, you got underwear on?
Well,
just kidding. We won't talk like you're well, duh. I was more thinking that's not appropriate to talk about. But, like, yeah, so we talk openly that, like, you know, we are just conscious of there are certain things that child support is meant to cover. And, you know, we're not, like, nickel and diming things, but we also are like, look, if you need a bunch of back to school clothes, like, normally your mom's covering that. And even if we're helping out sometimes and going and getting it, sometimes, like, your mom will pay your dad back for it. And so, and like you said, I'm buying things for Kate. And I remember when y'all were younger, sometimes.
I know, I was about to say this. Yeah. Like, I feel like if anyone who listens to this does have, like, a blended family with young kids, I feel like it's important that you do tell your kids about it, because I remember when me and Anna were younger, we would start to compare it to be like, oh, they don't buy us stuff, but Maggie buys Kate all this stuff. And we were like, that's not fair. But then when we got told about the child support thing, it made a lot more sense, because then it's like, oh, because we did get stuff from her mom that Kate maybe wasn't getting from her dad or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, like, we got stuff from her mom that sometimes Kate didn't get from you, and it just kind of, like...
It all evens out.
No, yeah.
And you did get stuff from Greg and us. You just got it through your mom, because she was given, you know, money to buy you that stuff. And so, Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that, and I appreciate you sharing that, Maddie, because I remember when you guys were younger, you were like
remember it too.
You were like keeping score at times, and I was kind of defensive a little bit too, because I was like, well, and she's not talking about like when we go out to eat or buy ice cream or like
no,
food.
not stuff like that, but like clothes wise,
Yeah.
like toy wise, and just like stuff like that. So I feel like it is important to say.
Yeah,
at
no,
some
it's good. I mean,
point.
it's helpful. I mean, it's where you want. It's like you want to. I think some people think too many things are like taboo to talk about with their kids, but I just really think
It's really important.
yeah, and it's helpful,
Especially stuff like that.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, we're nearing the end here, Maddie. This has been. I appreciate you giving me all of this time. I had some questions I want to ask you, but I feel like we're running out of time here.
Then just do it quick.
Okay. A few questions. What do you notice that is different with your friends and how they have access to money or manage money versus you? Like, do you notice differences? Do you guys talk about this stuff?
I don't talk about it too much, but like sometimes it's like some kids are able to just use their parents' money for everything, and sometimes people have to buy like everything just by themselves. Some people have like jobs like year round or have to work all the time. Some people have to pay for their car insurance and simple things like that. Some people don't even have a car. And I think it just depends on the family, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean...
But you and your... That's interesting. So you notice the differences.
Oh, yeah. I'm able to, like, tell the differences.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like talking about money that much. Just, like, political things. So that's kind of, like...
Or it's,
I
like,
don't know.
sensitive. Like...
Yeah. But you can, like, notice or, like, sometimes someone will say something and it's like, I don't know.
Do your other friends seem to, like, talk about that kind of stuff openly? Or do they just, like, do what they're doing and...
I think it kind of depends on the person. Because I don't think I've had many conversations with people about money. And if it does get brought up, then people will talk about it openly. But, like, I don't think it's people's first thing they want to talk about. I think most people would want to talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
No offense to you and your podcast,
No.
but...
No problem. Lots of adults don't even want to talk about money. Okay, how does it make you feel when you see all those differences?
I don't know.
That, like, does it make you appreciate that, like, you don't pay for your car insurance right now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It makes me feel kind of great about it because I know I couldn't afford that.
Do you feel like you're in, like, a decent position?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Okay.
I think y'all do a good job.
Oh, thanks, Maddie.
Yeah.
I was just fishing for compliments. You know? Is there anything you would change if you could about how we are currently managing money and expectation, like financial expectations with you? Like, do you wish we gave you more money? Do you wish you had an unlimited... If you could just, like, design it, how would it be?
I feel like y'all do most things pretty well, but I think the one thing that would be, like, nice would be when we are going out to eat with certain people and we aren't eating at home. If, like, that could be, like, funded or something like that. Or, like, this might sound bad, but even if we do forget to do our chores, or, like, we do them last minute, if we could still, like, get at least a little bit of it, because even though it might not be a lot, it helps in the long run.
Yeah.
But I feel like that... I get why you don't, but it would just be nice.
That's helpful to hear.
Especially because we do, like... I think the main thing why I don't is I just... This might sound bad, but I just don't have that much time to. You might disagree with that, but...
Yeah. I sometimes see that you have free time. I get that you're tired, though, and you don't want to spend, like, all your free time cleaning.
Yeah.
No, I hear you on the, like, partial allowance when you do stuff last minute.
And I'm here right now.
And you're here, yes. Like, I should pay you for this?
Oh, I didn't say that.
Oh.
I was saying I'm using my free
Oh,
time.
yeah, no, you're right.
I could be cleaning.
I was super excited when you wanted to do this with me, Maddie, because you're a busy girl, and this isn't, like you said, like, this might not be the number one thing on your list, but I, like, appreciate you doing this with me, so thank you, by the way. Of course. Which I'll re-thank you at the end. I'm open. I appreciate the feedback. I am open to the partial prorated allowance when you do stuff last minute. So just let me know when you do that. I know you did that recently, and we might have pushed back on you a little bit, but you should just, keep negotiating with us. We're convincible. And then also, here's my thing about when you guys go eat out with your friends. I like you saying that. I've thought about this a lot, because our kids, like, you guys eat out a lot with your friends, like a lot.
I also want to say, there's not much else to do.
Oh.
Like, if you think about it, there's, like, not that much we can do.
When I was a kid, we just hung out. We didn't, like, go out to eat. And we didn't even have phones. Boring. We just, like, play games. We'd, like, ride our bikes around the neighborhood, or...
We don't have bikes.
You have bikes?
No, I don't. don't.
They're downstairs. I got new, remember I bought extra bikes for everybody once y'all got bigger and we got rid of your...
Seriously?
Yeah, I told you about them. But you have a car now, so why do you even care about the bike?
Well, okay, the thing is, let me give you this example.
Okay.
If I'm just sitting in my car with people,
Uh-huh.
that's sitting. And, like, most of the time, when you hang out with someone, it's for multiple hours.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of boring. And it's like, I get it. You don't pay for if it's something, like, expensive. Like, if you went to, like, Topgolf, for example,
Yeah.
or, like, bowling, or, like, stuff like that. But if it's something like food, I feel like my perspective is, because it's like, you need food.
Yes. I agree. You need food.
And it's important.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
therefore, if we're just getting it from another source.
A more expensive source. But here's my perspective, and I'll make you a deal, okay? So, because you got some fair points in there. But my thing has always been, when you guys are going to eat out with your friends, when we're eating at home,
Oh,
I'm, like, not going to pay for that. But let's say, let's say I take your sisters out for a meal. And then you've just, like, you missed out on that meal because you already had, I don't know, you were somewhere else. You have plans a lot. I could see paying for that meal. Or, let's say it's dinner and you're here and we're all here and we're all eating at home. I will start giving you the amount that your food at home would have cost. Okay?
Okay.
So let's say you would have eaten $3 worth of groceries. You know?
I can go spend $3.
Well, I'll
somewhere
subsidize your
else.
eating out. Yeah, I'll give you like $4. I'll be like, you would have eaten dinner at home. It might have cost us $3 worth of groceries. And so I'll give you that amount.
Okay,
you know?
that helps.
No, I agree. That's a good point because I was like, you're right. You would have been eating here. But so it's like when we otherwise were not going to eat out as a family, I'm like, why would I spend more for you to go do something else when we have food at home that's like delicious and healthy? Experience building. Well, I agree.
Memories.
But that's why I give you an opportunity to earn allowance. This is all full circle, you know? So like, go clean your room and that pays for dinner. Maddie, here's what I want to know is, do you have any questions you want to ask me?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't think of them. Hold on.
I have some funny money memories related to you that I can share. If you
Really? What are that?
If you want. I know,
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you what you can ask
you?
me. Yeah, okay. So I have two funny money memories that came up related to you specifically that I thought of like when we were talking about different things, and I was just like going to save them for the end. So one is, I think it's really fun, this is random, but I think it's funny. Like every now and then you'll like text me and be like, I need you to get this out of my room for me. And so like, otherwise I really don't go in your room, but like you'll ask me for something and I'll like go, you're like, I need this yellow shirt out of my drawer or whatever. And so I'll go in and I'm like, there's money everywhere in your room. Like,
wait, what do you mean?
You'll just have like a $20 bill like on a closet shelf. You'll have like
Seriously?
$10 sitting on your desk. Yeah, you had like
I don't
money.
even notice this.
You had like money. You had like a whole bag full of cash. Like,
Oh, I don't spend my cash.
oh, you should put it in the bank. It can earn interest, Maddie.
Oh, I don't know. I just leave it there.
Oh, give it to me. I'll earn
Okay.
interest. I'll put it in the bank.
I think I
for
have
you.
like over 100.
Okay, well, anyways, I just thought it was funny. There was like money everywhere, and I was like, does anyone like? What's this? Just it's like little Easter eggs all over your room with money.
Have you been taking it?
No, I don't take it. I leave it there, and I like keep moving. You know, I just do it. I
Thank
just
you.
find the
I
yellow shirt,
appreciate
and I
it.
keep moving. Oh, the other thing is, I love when you'll ask if I'll buy you something, and I'll be like, why don't you just use your own money? And you're like, I'm broke. And I'm like, no, you got like $1,000 in the bank. And then I'm like, why don't you just spend that? And then you're like, no. I would rather spend your money. And I just think it's so funny that you're like, I love that you're like honesty and that you're just like, yeah, no, I'd rather spend your money though. You're like, I want to keep that money in the bank. So can I have your money?
I keep it so in the future when I need it,
Yeah.
it's there.
I know, but then we get into these debates where I'm like, yeah, but you're spending my money. So then I don't have my money in the future, you know? But I like the
You
negotiation.
still make money.
Yeah. I don't make money. I don't have a job anymore, Matt.
Yeah, you do.
What do you
Rental
mean?
houses.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And deferred compensation. I just wrote a blog post about all the ways I make money.
Do you have a blog?
Yeah. Substack. You probably wouldn't. Yeah, it's like a...
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Anyways. Okay. What other questions you got for me?
Was money the first, like, thought of making a podcast? Like, was there any other ideas what you would make a podcast about?
That is a good question. No, because when Mike and I, who started Friends on Fire, that was who I had a podcast with before Inside Out Money, is, we would talk about money at work all the time. And then we wanted to do a project together and we didn't even know what it would be, but we were like, we should like turn this into something. And I had the idea to turn it into a podcast. So I was like, let's have a podcast. And so it was more that money actually initiated the podcast versus me just saying, I want to start a podcast. Yeah, it's a good question though.
How much money did you have saved up when you retired?
Ooh, Maddie.
Can you say that?
I don't say that amount. I always joke that anyone who's listened to the podcast long enough could triangulate the general amount.
They probably could.
Because we talk about like our average spending, and then we talk about like how much money I think you should, like the 25 times rule and all that. But yeah, I don't share that publicly.
How much money do you spend like monthly?
Monthly. Well,
it depends on the month.
Yeah, because it's like
let's say an average month.
Okay, I'll give you an average month.
January. Nothing happens then.
Well, no, I could just tell you what I do is we take the total in a year and we divide it by 12. That's how we get to the average. Okay. You learned that in math, right?
The mean.
Okay, I hope so. In this case, we just take the average, not the mean. But aren't mean and average two different things?
No, they're the same, I think, right?
Or mean? Hold on, let's check.
The mean's the average of all the random numbers in like a graph. Or maybe that's like the mode, who knows? Oh wait, I think
no,
the mode is the range.
You're right. Mean and average are the same. Good on you, Maddie. Look at you learning something at school. Good for you.
For once.
You're gonna do well in life. Okay, the average. We have spent between $80,000 to $120,000 a year on average, which means we've been actually spending more in early retirement, which I actually think is more related to the age of you guys and like sports and other things becoming expensive. But I would say on average we are spending $8,000 to $10,000 a month.
Okay, that's not bad.
I mean, yeah, it's not. I mean, but our mortgage is paid off, so that doesn't include like if we had a mortgage on this house, that would add another like $2,000 to $4,000.
How much do you get paid in child support, and how much does my dad pay my mom?
Oh wow, is that like a something you wonder about?
No, I don't wonder about any of this. It's just like coming in my head now when you ask me.
Interesting. I don't feel comfortable sharing that amount with you, but I will share it with you when you graduate college. Okay. How about that?
How much did you and my dad make before you retired?
I don't feel comfortable sharing that on the podcast, but...
You said you shared with me.
I said I would tell you after the podcast.
Okay, fair. Are you able to say my dad's or after? Actually, I know the range you made.
Wait, I'll tell you after, okay? We got time for one more question.
Oh.
Do you remember what it is? There's something you're supposed to ask me. You already forgot?
What was my surprise?
What surprise?
You said at the end you were going to tell me something.
I said I had a money confession to tell you.
Oh, yeah. That's what I meant by surprise.
I thought you meant I had like a surprise for you. Though I did just give you that cool gift for your car.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Yeah, I got her this very cute like koala that attaches to her steering wheel.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't distract you while you're driving.
That wouldn't be good.
No offense, you don't need
I'll
any
blame
distractions.
it if like you...
Oh, if you get in a wreck, you're going to be like,
I'm
it's the
blame
koala's
it on
fault.
you.
Because of that darn koala on the steering wheel. He was too
Okay,
cute.
what was the confession?
Okay, my money confession. So when you said at the very beginning, I was like asking you if you ever stress about money, and you were like, oh, sometimes I stress when we like go on these big trips.
Uh-oh.
And my confession is, and I've confessed this on some other interviews I've done before, I kind of like, I'm saying this exaggeratingly and like half jokingly, but I've kind of like...
Do you stress too?
No, I don't stress.
Oh.
I don't know, I have like stuff I worry about, but no, I don't stress about money. I kind of like always want you guys to think we have less than we do. You know what I mean? Like, growing up, I was like, there's no value in you knowing exactly how much money we have and knowing that, like, I mean, there's value in knowing that, like, you're going to be fine and there's going to be a roof over your head and, like, but there's no value in you knowing if I have, $5
or $5 million.
Yeah, or if I have $100,000 in the bank or $10 million. By the way, I don't have $10 million.
Dang
but, like,
it.
there's no value in you knowing that because you don't even have a full concept of what that amount of money would do for you over time.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact that money's got to last me 80, not 80 years, but, like...
So on all these, like, trips and stuff, you make it seem like we have a lot less than we do?
No, it's more that we are living on a... budget's the wrong word, but like, yeah, we are trying to be responsible with our money because we have early retired and we need to make the money we have last and grow over the next like 60 years. Well, let's call it 50 years, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, we're fine. We're going to be fine. So I don't ever want you to stress about money. But this is what's important is like, but the definition of fine is different, right? We're going to be fine means you're always going to have a roof over your head. You're always going to have a place to come home to. You're always going to be well fed. Maybe not funded to eat out with your friends every day, but like you're going to be well fed, you know? There's never not food in our house, you know?
Uh-huh.
And like we go on nice trips, you know, like you're going to be okay. You're going to get to go to college. Some kids can't afford to go to any college, right? You're not necessarily going to like, I'm not going to bankroll a $500,000 education in Hawaii, but you're going to be fine. You know, you don't need to stress about money. And I sometimes am like, I just don't think there's value I think there's value in kids not stressing about money, but I don't think there's value in kids thinking that there's like an unlimited money tree, because then they're going to grow up like entitled and like not ever having any limits set for them. And so I sometimes joke, I'm like, I kind of like my kids to think that like, you know, I'm like, there's only so much I can afford. Is that like new news to you?
Yeah.
I don't want you to stress, you know?
Okay. What's your favorite podcast of not yours that you've gone on?
Oh, that I've gone on?
Yeah, do you have a favorite? Because I already know your favorite co-host. Me. Just kidding. Not yet.
I was like, man, don't call me out.
I'm not considered a co-host, so
not yet, but you're formally in the interview process, you know? That is a tough question, Maddie, to choose a favorite. Sometimes it's just like more recent ones that I can remember. Gosh.
Or like the most like memorable one.
The most memorable one. I think Cash Cuties, which is the name of a podcast I went on, is the most memorable one, because they're like, one of them is like a comedian. He's like a professional comedian. Yeah. And they were just like, it was like the most funny and different podcast I've ever been on. So I really enjoyed, but I've been on like a bunch of different ones, but that's probably the most memorable.
Do they like listen to yours?
I think they have listened. I don't know if they regularly listen, but they have listened before. I'll give them a shout out to Cash Cuties too when we post this.
Can people comment on your posts?
Yeah. You say, can they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can. Yeah.
People should comment that I'm a better co-host than Kate, just to make her mad.
Okay. Just to like create some family competition.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, because Kate was on a previous episode, so we'll put a link in the show notes to the episode Kate was on, and then you can leave us a comment, or maybe let us know in a review. You can leave a review on Apple Podcasts and let us know if you preferred Maddie or Kate.
Don't do a competition, because do see who you prefer, because I just want to know.
Yeah, we'll see who gets the most reviews that specifically mention their name between Kate or Maddie. Kate got a few that specifically mentioned her name.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh god.
Now you gotta beat that, so.
Wait, how did mine compare to Kate's?
Your what?
How did my,
This?
Yeah.
We haven't, I haven't done it yet.
No, how do you think it did?
How do I think your episode?
It will do.
I mean, I don't know, Maddie, that's like asking me to choose my favorite kid. I'll say, you were more conversational than Kate was.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I mean, you're 16. You're you know, but actually, no, you're right. I can see why you would say you wouldn't expect that.
Because normally when we're home, Kate talks a lot.
Yeah, she definitely if there was a ratio of like words to time in the house of Kate versus you, Kate's significantly higher than you.
But she's home longer, so.
No, but I'm saying if there was like a ratio of like the amount of time you're talking versus the minutes you're here, like hers would be higher than yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a talkative kid. Love her to death, but yeah, talkative kid. And
you should bring her brother on the podcast, just to see.
Oh, her half brother?
Yeah, you should bring him on here.
I wonder what he would talk about. He's 8, so we'll see.
Actually, he's really quiet, so that might not work.
Yeah, he's a cute kid, though.
No, apparently Kate said he talks more than she does.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
she said that. I was surprised.
Maybe we should get him on here and get an 8-year-old's perspective on money.
But you might need, like, his mom here or something to make him feel comfortable, because you're kind of scary.
True. You think I'm scary, Maddie? Are you scared of me?
Sometimes when you're mad.
Oh, am I mad? Do I get mad a lot?
Well, you just get frustrated.
I'm firm. I think I set high expectations. Is that true?
Yeah.
Do you think that's been a good thing for you, or do you wish my expectations were lower?
I think it's more good than bad.
Oh, that's nice. Hey, I asked you for, like, what you would change about money.
Yeah.
What would you change about just, like, my parenting style if you could change anything? This is a time, like, open feedback. This is your chance, you know? You can publicly put me on blast and set some expectations for me, you know?
I think the one thing that it would probably be, like, how quick you sometimes get frustrated. Like, you're not, like, that kind of sounds bad, but I'm trying to, like, put this in, like, words that don't put you in a bad spot.
Don't go for it. Because I can always edit this out, so.
Oh.
No, but I'm going to keep
come
it
on.
in. No, go ahead.
You have to repeat stuff to us for us to actually listen, and by the end of it, you just, like, you don't scream at us, but you just get, like, irritated, and that's not the best.
Do you want me to just be, like, more chill?
Well, you're doing better now. It was more when we were younger.
Yeah.
Because then we were home, like, a lot more, and, like, we didn't listen as much.
It might have been COVID when we were all trapped in the house for a few years.
Probably was.
No, that's good feedback. I also think correct me if I'm wrong, but part of what you're saying, and you've said this before to me, is I sometimes, like, assume the worst. Like, I'll see you start to do something, and I assume it's going in a direction that it's gone before. But I don't wait to see what happens before I sort of, like, try to correct or try to give feedback. And I'm trying to get better at that. But, like,
And your mom does it, too.
Yeah, well, you see where I got it from.
No, that was my point.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't just... It's in your genetics, but...
It's less in my genes and more of, like, how I was raised, you know? And
also...
So, yeah, okay, keep going.
This is my one more thing. One more thing.
Okay.
In the morning, you guys always say you're tired, but... You're up very late at night, because when I'm up late at night, I walk upstairs and I see your light on.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what you're doing in there.
Just hanging out. Normally doing the New York Times games or like the quartile on Apple games.
But my point is, considering that, I don't think you should get as mad in the mornings when you're up early, because we are too.
Oh, am I mad that I'm up early? Or I'm just cranky because I don't like getting up early?
Well... When you wake up, sometimes you're like, we were up too late last night for this.
Oh.
Yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
Yada,
I might take this part out. I don't sound very nice. Okay. Sometimes when I'm going to bed and I'm like, some nights I'm like, I can't sleep and I hear you. I'm like,
I can't sleep either.
I'm like, Maddie is still up and it's like 12:30. Yeah, we should hang out, Maddie. We should come out and record some podcasts.
I hang out with my dad sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I walk upstairs and I see him eating a snack.
Oh, he's like out eating ice cream.
No, I remember like this one time, I don't know when this was, but I walked up one time and he was eating the chocolate kashi.
Oh, the kashi cereal.
Yeah, the cereal. And he was like, do you want some? And I was like, I'm okay. And then we just talked for maybe an hour and then I went back to bed. And he was like, you should probably go to bed. And I'm like, okay.
Was that on a school night?
Probably.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe I should come out more often and like hang out with you.
I was up the other night because what I did 2 nights ago was I was trying to find Neosporin for my leg because
I could hear you like rustling around the house.
Because I have like the massive cut still, but I couldn't find the Band-Aid, so I just put Neosporin and went back to bed.
Oh, sorry. I'll tell you where the Band-Aids are.
Thanks.
They're clearly hidden. Their first aid kit's in that cabinet right by the front
door. I know,
door.
but it's like a big cut.
Yeah.
Like
I have
that's
a cool,
that has to be like a big Band-Aid.
I have a cool like tie-dye bandage you can put on that. That's
no
like
thanks.
Okay. It says Inside Out Money. You're like sponsored by
God.
it doesn't really, but we should get some custom Band-Aids.
How many sales have you gotten on your merch?
On my stickers?
A lot?
I don't know. I've sold
shirts?
Hundreds of stickers. I don't really, no, I mean, those shirts are like direct to ship, so I don't really see the sales, but like I've sold like hundreds of stickers.
Really?
Yeah. And you get free stickers. That's a nice perk of living here, Maddie.
I don't take them.
I know. You don't want them.
That's
why I was kind of joking.
No, but you do put them. I don't know how many people know this, but everywhere we go, if she sees like a pole or like some kind of like rock or something she likes, she's like, I'm gonna put an Inside Out Money sticker on that.
I only put them where other people have already put stickers. Right? Or
I don't know.
That's fair.
But also, when we had the Friends on Fire one, you did that as well, and you're like, everybody put this on your water bottles. We also have metallic ones we just got in the mail.
I offered everybody, nobody wanted one, but I offered everybody a sticker.
No, we did it.
I think when you were younger, you guys put it on your
when we were
bottles,
younger, we did it.
They've been since removed, I noticed. Everybody removed it, but that's okay. Friends on Fire.
No, we had to remove the Friends on Fire one because you're not on it anymore.
Yeah, you're right. When it retired, the stickers came off. You're right.
Yeah, I can't say.
Okay, we gotta wrap this up. This might have to be a 2-part episode. We have literally been recording here for 2 hours.
Seriously?
No joke. We started at 7:35. It is 9:26.
Dang.
Okay, we're gonna bring this out. When I just told you it's been 2 hours.
What?
What should you say? Like, what's one of your go-to phrases?
I don't know.
Ain't no way. I love when you say that. I don't know why, I just think it's like really cute and funny. Like when I'm like, we've been recording for 2 hours, you'd be like, ain't no way.
Ain't no way we're ending the podcast.
That's perfect.
Bye.
Bye. Ain't no way. Okay, we do a closing on every podcast, Maddie. So
Do I get to make my own closing?
Oh yeah, actually, why don't you just come up with a closing?
I don't know what I want it to be.
Just wing it.
I don't know.
You can end it with ain't
Can
no
I
way.
have a hit?
Well, I normally like thank people for listening. I see if they want to leave a review. I'm like, you could share this with a friend.
Okay, I got this.
Got it. Go for it. Go for it. This is our new closing by Maddie.
No, but I can only do it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Okay,
Only when you're on.
let me think. Ain't no way we've already made it to the end of the podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. We love you so much.
They're not watching. This is not a video podcast, by the way.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We love you. Peace out. Bye.
I love it. Okay, also, if you want to leave us a voicemail or text us, you can do that at 404-981-3370, or you can hit us up on Instagram. Okay, thanks. Thank you so much for coming on, Maddie. I seriously appreciate it. I've really enjoyed doing this with you, and I hope we get some good reviews and you come back on the podcast. Okay, bye, Maddie.
Bye-bye. Hear you guys next time.
I love it. I love the sound effects.
We're going round and round and round and round and round.
Hey, I'm gonna say hi to you first, okay? This was Kate laughing so much. Kate laughed the entire. She like couldn't stop giggling.
Hi, Maggie.
Wait, I haven't started yet. Okay. Hey, Maddie. See, that was literally Kate. She couldn't even say hi to me without laughing.
It's so dumb.
Okay. Take a deep breath.
Do I have to say hi, Maggie?
Yeah, just say, or you could just say hey. Whatever you want.
That's so awkward.
Okay, you ready? You tell me when you're ready. This is literally what happened with Kate. And then once I say hi to you, I'm going to do like a rotation.
What do you mean a rotation?
I mean, sorry, I'm going to do an introduction. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Hey, Maddie. Okay, here, we're going to start a new approach, okay? You just don't say anything, okay?